Hello, everybody. This is Secondhand Dan coming to you from the magical Antique Land at the Penny Pincher Thrift Shop in Pittsburgh. I went yard sailing, so rather than just go through the gamut of showing you everything I got at the yard sale, I thought maybe we'll do a breakdown on just one particular item and see what that's like. I was at one yard sale, and the man was sitting in his garage. He was just sitting there chilling. He had the gray hair and he had the gray ponytail. Thought, okay, this is kind of a unique individual, but I thought something was up. I'm looking in his driveway. There's not much for sale at this yard sale. It's a neighborhood yard sale. There's a lot of places in the neighborhood, but he didn't have a lot going on in his yard sale. Well, maybe he did before I got there, so it was probably, noonish when I got to his place. But I saw some director's chairs in his driveway, and one was actually missing the canvas. I said, "You got the canvas for the other one?" "No, I don't." Okay. I never did ask how much for the director's chair, so I just started walking up towards him as he's sitting in the garage, and small talk. I said, "Yeah, the rain's done, and that's a good thing, but it's still hot and humid." But then I could see in his garage, the house looked like it was built in the mid to later 60s, and I could see in the garage this real long hot water radiator for heat, which was a bit unusual. Most houses were forced air heat. There are a handful that weren't, of course, but I said, "Well, that's quite the radiator there." And he said, "Yeah, my dad installed that some time ago." I said, "You got hot water in the rest of these radiators in the rest of the house?" He said, "No, well, yeah, we do, but they're the baseboard heaters, and not the traditional cast iron tall radiators." So I said, "Yeah, that's pretty cool. You don't see that much anymore, but hey, do you have any antiques you're sitting on that you haven't brought out yet?" He said, "Well, I do have some camera equipment upstairs. I could take you upstairs and show it to you." I said, "Let's go." So we got inside this house, and it was definitely retro. It didn't look like it had ever been remodeled to be modernized, which it's kind of cool to see a house like that. So it's like that 70s show or something like that. But we went to the living room, and there, scattered on the living room floor, was probably like 40 different items, camera related. You had a flat with cameras in it, the kind of accordion you fold out. There was like 4 or 5 of those. I thought they were a bit common, but I saw 3 larger cases in the middle, and I said, "Okay, I can look." He said, "Yeah, go ahead and take a look." So I proceeded to unlatch the latches, and I liked what I saw. One was a camera I actually had maybe over a year ago, and I sold it on the internet, so I couldn't remember the exact number I sold it for. I was thinking it was like $80-ish or something like that. So I had these 3 cameras that I grouped together after perusing what was there, and I said, "I'd be interested in giving you $50 for the 3 cameras." He said, "Well, I was talking to somebody. They were supposed to maybe buy everything." I said, "Yeah, when did you last talk to them?" He said, "Oh, it was a couple days ago. They were out of town." And I'm like, "Well, I'm here with money in hand." He said, "Well," and he got on his phone. He's like, he's trying to get a hold of the guy. I guess they went to voicemail or whatever. And the honest truth is, the guy might never get around to following through and coming out to check out the man's camera collection. There again, he might. But I said, "Look, I'm a bird in the hand. I got some money right now, and I wanted to do the $50 on that." He said, "Well, I need to do a little thinking." But we walked downstairs in the garage, and I said, "Tell you what, do you 60 and you throw in the tin can." So he agreed to that, and that made me happy. I was fairly confident I was going to make some money. Anyway, here's the tin can. Westinghouse. I mean, it's rare, especially for people who collect Westinghouse items. I got to stop doing this quotation stuff. Anyway, it says insulating varnish. And this isn't the first time I had one of these. I don't know if it's still around here. I had another one that said Westinghouse elevator oil. But even though it says insulating varnish, this one says thinner on it. So I don't mean if that's the thinner that it accompanies the insulating varnish, but whatever. I thought it's worth having. And so I did my homework on it, and it's going to go up to the antique mall. I put $22 on it, so if I get $22, hey, that's a third of my investment. But I did already sell the one camera, so if you'd like to check out the, it was a movie projector. If you'd like to check it out, go to Auction Boss, one word, all lowercase letters. That's the seller name on eBay, and you can find that particular camera. But I have one here right now. I thought we'd go over it together. This, and I've actually had this one before too, and I didn't think this was as prestigious or as desirable as the one I told you I sold on eBay was a repeat. But I did have this one, and I'm pretty sure I sold it, and you know, it could have been anywhere like $25, $40. So, but I made a nice chunk of money on the first camera, so I'm doing really good. So, haven't been able to find my microphone receiver today. I got the darn microphone clipped on me, but I don't have the receiver in the phone. So, all right. Well, this is what they call like a leatherette type case. I think there's actually some real leather. Yeah, this is real leather. And of course, there's a nice hasp on it. This one you push to the one side and boop, pops open. I mean, these things were durable for many a year. They're not indestructible. A lot of times these old cases, from opening and closing, the lid would eventually fall off. But this is I guess that's French up there. Cine Kodak. Model K, made in the USA by Eastman Kodak. All right, well, it's a movie camera for shooting home movies. Now, overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, just by looking at the exterior, I would give this maybe a 7. I mean, give your opinion in the comments if you want. You know, a lot of it is just based on one's perspective. I'm not a professional camera grader. I don't know if there is such a profession. I know there's professional baseball sports cards graders, but one thing I'm noticing is that this is the leatherette. That's the case itself is leather. Or what do they call this? Toll. T-O-W-E-L. Tolling. This is the kind of stuff you see like on amplifiers also. But I'm noticing it's kind of lifting. Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, that can be doctored up real easy. You just put some contact cement in there, and it's going to go back down in place. But even if you don't, it still looks like a proper display piece to sit on your shelf. The way they operated these back in the day, they flipped these sights up. There's one on the front, and there's one on the back. So you would look through this little hole through the sight up the front. That way you made sure that you actually had things in frame. Because without this, you could be missing it. You think you're pointing at something, but with these lining up, it's kind of like the same principle of shooting a rifle. You have a sight by your face, and you have a sight on the end of the barrel. So it's the same principle. This also has a little lens inside the rear that lifts up and down. So I'm not sure what the difference is. But now if you don't want to do that. It's not required that you use that line of sight. They have this window right here, and you look down through here, just like the old Brownie cameras. You look down through here, and there's a mirror inside there that causes you to see through here. So it looks something like this. And I think the picture's upside down, if I remember. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid taking snapshots. Well, snapshots, photographs. I don't think they called them snapshots back in the early days. But yeah, I remember looking through the top of my camera, taking pictures. So that's how you would keep that in line. That's plan B. Now, some of the finer points I'm not so sure about on this unit. Okay, I thought this was maybe like a light to change the amount of light that came in onto your film, but after looking at it real close, it says footage. So that keeps track of how much film you've actually shot. There again, there's the name on there. So largely it's a badge with a meter to tell you how much film you've used up so far. There's a lot of information on the front of it. I guess as far as probably setting your focal points, it says close up in shade and scenes on dark day and deep shade. So you would, there's a little lever here. You would move that to what you determine your where you're at. If you figure you're up in shade, the next setting says close up in direct sunlight. There again, you would move that again. And it goes all the way up to use only for distant subjects and direct sunlight. Now there's some kind of filter on here too, so that's kind of high tech. I mean, I dabbled in photography briefly, but never enough to know anything about which filter. It's just a ring. I think that keeps the filter in place. Yeah. There's the filter. And I can see an aperture down in there. So let's go ahead and open it up. If you look here, it says close, it says open. But you actually have to rotate this before you can get it open. So you rotate it 180 degrees, and then you can push it towards the open, and then the back comes off. I said this is a this might be a 16 millimeter. Does it say anywhere on here? Oh, let's look at the badge. Model K. Well, I'm thinking it's a 16 because I saw the... Some of these cameras actually could run dual. You would shoot, you put 16 in there and it would actually shoot on one side, giving you an 8, and then you flip it over and do the other side and get, again, 8. Or you just blow your wad and do the whole thing as 16 millimeter. Now looking inside here, somebody has engraved something. Oh, before I get to the engraving, you see it says 50 and 100. Those are the two different sizes of spools. I don't know if that means, maybe it means 100 inches or 50 inches of film. If I open this up, there's a spool in here. So you can see it has a square hole in it, which matches the square nubbin there. And I know that there's another spool in here. Which I'll knock the camera off. And you can see this one is larger than the other one. Both have the square hole in it. Kodak says right on it. This one does not. Oh wait, there it is. Kodak spool. So they would go in here. The square end has to go down first. And I guess that's your counter right there. See how it drags on the spool? I don't know, because, well, that's not going to tell you as the film disappears. It'll tell you whether you have 100. Oh, I guess you can lift this up and over for the smaller spool. And you can see it's a belt drive. There's a little, it's kind of like a spring. Goes up to take up the film. Film goes through here, past the lens, down there. I think this is a take-up reel, these spools. Now, this camera has provenance. And what's that? You mean? That's something that connects it to something of significance. And if we look down inside, it says R.H. Macy and Company Incorporated. Now I'm thinking that's in there because it actually belonged to R.H. Macy and Company. I don't believe they would engrave every camera they're trying to sell that way. I think it was just to show it was their property, and if it ended up in the wrong hands, they could identify it. But R.H. Macy and Company is Macy's department store. So I'm thinking with this old camera, as old as it was, and good possibility that it belonged to Macy's department store, it may even been around to shoot some of the Thanksgiving Day parades back in the day. Now, I live in Pittsburgh, and we didn't have a Macy's in Pittsburgh until I think the 80s or something like that. So this definitely could have come from out of state. Now here's something I'm just discovering. Take this belt off, lift it up over there. You gotta remember, I guess you need to keep that twist in. You can always just twist it again, but this opens up. And there's another spool in there. I wish it had some film on that was already been shot on this camera. That would have been cool to get it developed. But so one spool is for sending the film over to the take-up through the lens. So like I said, there's a wheel there. So the film down below came across that wheel. Notice how they got a little indent there. So the film would come over here, and between there and here. And then after that, it would go to this reel to be taken up. Well, if you hung with me for this long, I guess you're entitled to see what it does. It's got a crank on it. The crank gets put away when you're done with it. Now, this isn't so you can crank while you're watching a movie. I mean, to make it go. No, it's to wind it up. Right now, I'm winding it up, just like a pocket watch or a wind-up toy. So you got to know when to stop. I guess some of these cameras back in the day, you could break them, but I feel comfortable right there. So I'm going to flip this over and put it away. Now, with this lever here, you push that down in. See what? Now I can lock it in place. I can hold it with my finger and let go of it, or I can lock it and it's going to go until it stops. At that point, you need to wind it up again. Because one wind up would not get you the whole roll of film shot. I remember my dad had a Bell & Howell when I was growing up. It's about half this size, and it was an 8mm camera. And, it didn't take sound. This does not record sound. But I'm not sure what this does. So, one of the other things that are included with this camera is some lens paper, and I guess this is the remnants from film packages. I guess it was to help clue you in as to what to set your speeds and apertures and yada yada at. So there's like 4 of these. They're made out of paper, cardboard. Here's, I guess, 2 instructions from that came with the movie film when you bought it. It says Kodachrome. Mama take my Kodachrome, eat 'em hot 'em home. Mama take my Kodachrome away. All right. Again, Kodachrome. So that's what somebody was shooting in this. Now I don't know how old this is. I tried to find. Oh, it's 62. There's a little number 62 on the bottom there. So, I mean, the last time somebody put film in it, 1962. It's like 64 years ago. Well, I think we got it just about all taken care of here. This, it's a plus that it runs, but I don't know, half the people are going to buy something like this and use it as a shelf sitter, a man cave item. And there's some people out there who are going to insist on trying to actually record some movies with it. So it's good that it's running. So when I post this one on eBay, I can say it operates. Now I'll also tell them I can't testify as to what kind of results you're going to get, but the motor runs. So that's my movie camera, and maybe next time we'll go over, I think I have a movie projector that so when I say I bought the 3 things, 2 of them were cameras and 1 was a projector. Now, so I'm going to put this all back in the box. I put a lot of stuff on eBay today already, and I'm not in the mood to, you have to take 12 to 20 some pictures of an item. I usually leave at least 3 spaces left over to advertise my YouTube channel on eBay. So I appreciate your hanging out with me. I hope you found this particular movie camera interesting. So instead of saying action, I say cut. All right, everybody. Bye. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.